Hello, greetings. I welcome you all to this particular topic. This is organic chemistry. I'm here to make this topic so simple so that you may understand everything that we are going to discuss. We started looking at alcohols, and to be specific, today I want us to continue from here where we are going to start with preparation of ethanol. Ethanol is one of the alcohols, so don't be confused. So when we are talking about the preparation of ethanol, I want you to understand that we can carry out two preparations for us to get ethanol. The first type or the first thing that can be done for us to get ethanol is what we get to call hydration of ethene. So there is what is called hydration of what? Hydration of ethene. This is what you need to understand. I guess you are following me closely and attentively. So when ethene undergo hydration, you are going to get ethanol. This is to tell you that any alkene that gets to undergo hydration, we get to produce an alcohol. This is what you need to understand. You are confused. What is hydration, sir? So I want you to understand that hydration, for example, say hydration of ethene. This is to tell you that when ethene, which is like this, I guess at this point, we know how to write organic compounds, more especially hydrocarbons. So this is ethene. When it reacts with steam, which is water in gaseous state. So hydration is the process of what? The process where a substance gets to react with what? Steam, which can be, in this case, water in gaseous state. So what we are going to have this side, we are going to form an alcohol. What is the name of this alcohol that is going to be formed this side? It is called what? Ethanol. And this is how ethanol is going to be. And we understand that the functional group for ethanol is what? Is an hydroxyl. So the functional group is what? An hydroxyl group, which is like this. This is an hydroxyl group. So every alcohol is supposed to have OH. I've made this particular video public on YouTube and any other platforms that we get to have as Harrison Jezuru Tutor. So I want even other people that have not joined us, maybe they can be motivated to join us. People get to have many reasons. So I've made this public on all social media platforms so that if there are people that wants to join us, this is Harrison IT Academy and I'm here to help you get that distinction. So this is just a continuation and this is what we are doing at the moment under my online lessons. So those of you that are already under my online lessons, I guess you know that it's a continuation and you are supposed to be writing down in notes. Those of you that have not joined me, this is how I get to teach. My lessons get to be recorded. I share them in the group private. You can't see them like the way you are seeing this one. Those ones, if you join my academy, you are only able to see them if I share a link to you. So I'm here to help you get a distinction. We revise through past papers, not only in science, chemistry, but also other subjects. So let me help you get that distinction. Back to this particular lesson. So hydration of ethene is a process by which ethene reacts with the steam. So when ethene reacts with the steam, what we are going to form this side is an alcohol. Since it is ethene, we are going to have what? We are going to have ethanol. If we add propene, so in a case where we say we have what? Propene. When propene reacts with the steam, what we are going to form is something that shall be called what? Something that will be called propanol. So we are going to form what? We are going to form propanol. This is what you need to understand, but I'm not talking about any other member of alcohols. To be specific, like you've seen, I'm talking about what? Ethanol. So our main concentration is on ethanol. For this process to happen, we need to understand certain conditions. For every reaction to take place, there are conditions that should be present. In this case, you need to understand that there must be a temperature of what? There must be a temperature of what? A temperature of 300 degrees Celsius. So for ethene to turn into ethanol, when it reacts with the steam, there must be a temperature of 300 degrees Celsius, and we must have a catalyst that is now going to help us change this into that. So what is the name of that particular catalyst? We need to have phosphoric acid. So we need to have what? Phosphoric what? Acid, which is just like this, which is H3PO4. So this is phosphoric acid. This is a catalyst that should be there. We also need to understand a pressure of what? We must have a pressure of, I'm going to say that, a pressure of what? 65 atmosphere. So these are the conditions that should be present for this type of a reaction to occur. Hydration of ethene. This is what you need to get. So I guess you are able to follow me closely and attentively. So this is it that you need to understand. Remember what I said. I said that we can undergo what? Two things when we want to prepare ethanol. We can prepare ethanol using two methods. The first one is what we get to call hydration of ethene. The second one that I want you to understand is what we get to call fermentation of sugars. So this is called what? Fermentation of sugars. It is called fermentation of sugars. You are wondering, what is fermentation? I know most of you get to encounter these words. You get to experience them. You say them when this ferments, but you don't even know what fermentation is. You are able to use it, but you don't know what it is. You cannot define it. There are certain terms we get to use, but we don't know their definition. We just know how to apply them. So what is fermentation? I want you to understand that when we are talking about fermentation, we are talking about the decomposition. So if I tell you what is fermentation, you need to tell me that fermentation is a decomposition of what? Decomposition of sugars using enzymes. Using what? Using enzymes. So using enzymes in what? Enzymes which are in what? Which are in yeast to produce what? To produce ethanol and carbon dioxide. To produce what? To produce ethanol and what? And carbon dioxide. Ethanol and carbon dioxide. So this is what we get to call fermentation. So if we are talking about fermentation, you have to understand that it is the decomposition of sugars using enzyme. I guess you know what an enzyme is. Biology will tell you that an enzyme is a biological catalyst. The biology will tell you that, but here we are not talking about biology. We are getting the chemistry part of it. So whenever we are talking about fermentation, this fermentation, so you discover that when a sugar ferments, so when we say that this sugar has fermented, that sugar should be mixed with what? Water and enzymes in the absence of what? Atmospheric oxygen, so that we avoid it to react with what? Atmospheric air. So we get the sugars that should be reacted or mixed with water and enzymes. We wait for them to do what? We wait for them to mix up for a few days. In the absence of what? air, which is atmospheric oxygen. So fermentation is happening in the absence of what? Oxygen. And I want you to understand that the ethanol or the sugar that we are talking about is glucose. So what we are actually saying is that when glucose, which is like this, when glucose ferments, so glucose is like this, when it ferments, you are able to agree with me that what will happen is that we are going to produce what? The ethanol like this, plus what? Plus carbon dioxide, plus carbon dioxide. This is going to be produced. So for certain conditions, you need to understand conditions that needs to be there for this type of a reaction to occur. So that is what I want us to continue from. So I said that we look at what conditions for this type of a reaction to take place. This is fermentation of what? Fermentation of sugars. And we are involving enzymes. So for enzymes to work properly, we must have a temperature of what? A normal temperature. Then what is the normal temperature of a human being? That is what? 37 degrees Celsius. Even for this type of a reaction to occur, there must be that temperature. And we need to have a catalyst. What is the name of that catalyst that is going to help us? That catalyst is an enzyme. So that is an enzyme that is helping us to make sure that fermentation occurs. What is the name of that enzyme? Zymase. So this is the name of that particular what? That particular enzyme that we are talking about. I guess you are able to follow me clearly. The best that you can ever do is to follow me attentively, and you need to make sure that you are writing down notes. You need to be, especially those of you under my online lessons. This video is public, so you can say, okay, this video is public and the like, but make sure if you're under my online lessons, you write down the notes in your book and study them. And those of you that are just watching this video, because this is a bonus video to the audience that we have, it's public, everyone is able to view it. Even next year, those other years to come, the videos to be there. So at any time that you are going to watch this particular video, if you want tuitions, I'm here. This is Harrison J. Zuru Tutor, the prophetic tutor, here to help you get a distinction. So let us now proceed. There are certain things you need to note when we are talking about what? Fermentation. So fermentation should not take place in the what? Fermentation should not take place in the presence of oxygen, because it is going to turn what? Ethanol to ethanoic acid. In other words, when fermentation is taking place in the presence of oxygen, the alcohol that is produced will be turned to a carboxylic acid, because it has reacted with what? Oxygen. So for fermentation to take place, fermentation should take place in the absence of oxygen to prevent oxidation of ethanol to ethanoic acid. All these things, I will explain them and you are going to understand. And you also need to understand that if temperature goes up, so when the temperature goes up, you need to get that when the temperature goes above 40 degrees Celsius, when the temperature goes above 40 degrees Celsius, you discover that the enzymes get to be denatured. So the enzymes get to be what? The enzymes, you discover that the enzymes get to be denatured, get to be what? To be denatured. This is it. This is what you are supposed to understand. So the enzymes in yeast, which are catalyzed, which gets to catalyze the reaction, becomes what? Denatured. So we need to make sure that we balance on these what? Temperatures. And I want us now to look at some physical properties of alcohol. So we are done with ethanol. We just need to talk about ethanol. In an exam, you find a question to say, briefly explain how you can prepare ethanol. Most of the questions will be based on ethanol. because this one we can relate with it. And I've given you two methods which you can use to prepare ethanol. You can get the first one, which is hydration of ethene, or you can get fermentation of sugars. You explain them nicely and you put chemical equations there. As simple as that. So chemistry should not be so challenging to you. It's just a matter of understanding the concept. And I've said that we look at what? Physical properties. Physical properties of alcohols. Physical what? Properties of what? Alcohol. Because this is a topic that we are looking at. Alcohols. What are some of the physical properties that we need to understand? Some physical properties that I want you people to understand is that an alcohol is a what? Is a colorless. So this is a colorless inflammable. So a colorless inflammable liquids. These are colorless inflammable what? Liquids. And you also need to understand that the boiling point, when we are talking about the boiling point, so the boiling point increases. Have you seen? The boiling point increases as the what? As the carbon chains increases. So as the carbon what? Carbon chains increases. So this is to tell you, maybe you have not understood this particular point. This means that you discover that when you get ethanol and pentanol, pentanol has got a lot of carbon chains compared to ethanol. So this is to tell you that pentanol has got higher boiling point than ethanol. So pentanol has got higher than what? Ethanol. The point here is able to tell you boiling point increases as the carbon chains increases. This is what you need to understand. You also discover that when we talk about their solubilities, so you discover that their solubilities, so I would say their what? Their solubilities in water. Their solubilities in water decreases. So their solubility in water decreases as the what? As the carbon chain increases. As the number of what? Number of carbon chains increases. This is another point that you need to take note of. Very critical. So I guess you are able to see everything that I'm explaining here, and you need to make sure that you are able to understand this. So what we want to make sure is that you all understand chemistry at another perspective. We bring it closer to your attention so that you don't see chemistry as a subject that is so difficult. The same way I'm explaining these things, this should give you or open up your mind to answer another exam question that you're going to encounter. So I want you people to follow me clearly and attentively. Let us now look at chemical properties. So we look at what? Chemical properties of alcohols. Whenever we are talking about these chemical properties, I want you to understand that they are in categories. One, we are going to start with what? Oxidation. Oxidation will also come under a topic that we get to call carboxylics. So I'll also explain it very well at this particular topic called what? Oxidation of what? Ethanols, or I will say oxidation of carboxylics. So that is what I would do. So where we are going, I'll make sure that I explain that you understand. But here you just need to understand what is oxidation. You just need to know that oxidation is the what? You tell me that is the addition. So oxidation is the what? Oxidation is the addition of what? Addition of oxygen to a substance. So the addition of oxygen to a what? To a substance. That is oxidation. So if I tell you what is oxidation, oxidation is the addition of oxygen to a substance. So when oxygen has been added to a substance, you now discover that if we are talking about an alcohol, it is going to be changed to a carboxylic acid. For example, if I get pin. So let me say if I get a substance, let me say if I get propanol. So propanol here, when I add oxygen to it, so if I add oxygen to it, what I'm going to form here is something that will be called what? Propanoic acid, which is a carboxylic. But I'm not talking about this because I will end up confusing some of you. And this process to happen, we need to understand certain things. They are what we get to call oxidizing agents. So you also need to understand oxidizing what? Oxidizing agents. These are things that will now enable this process to take place. There is what we get to call potassium. So the first oxidizing agent that you need to understand is potassium dichromate. So we may consider potassium dichromate, which is like this. So this is what we get to call potassium dichromate. This is it. And we can also consider the other friend, which is what? Acidified. So we may also consider acidified potassium. So I'm going to say acidified potassium permanganate. So potassium permanganate. Permanganate. This is it. So these are some things that will enable us understand this particular topic. So, but I'll explain these things even as we get to go deeper and deeper. You are going to know them. And you discover that when an alcohol reacts with the bacteria in the atmosphere, you discover that a carboxylic acid is also formed. In a case where you get to have, so whenever we've got, for example, since I'm talking about ethanol a lot, so ethanol, which is like this. So when ethanol reacts with atmospheric oxygen, when it reacts with the bacteria in air, which is in the atmosphere, what we are going to form this side is a carboxylic acid. So what will happen is that we are going to drop one atom of carbon here so that we get to form a functional group for carboxylics. The functional group for carboxylic is like this. You discover that all carboxylic acids should end with this. Some people tell you that is what, like this, they need to have, let me say, they need to have O here and another double bond there. You need to have something like this. So have you seen? They'll tell you, okay, you need to have something that is like this. So this is just something to enable you understand. So you drop one carbon and you drop two hydrogens. So one carbon dropped, two hydrogens dropped to remain with three. Then the carbon that was dropped comes here. Then from the oxygen we get one and we write this. This is OH. Have you seen? There is a functional group that is visible there. Plus, remember the two hydrogens that we dropped come here like this. Then this one I removed one, so I remained with one, I put it there. So this one that is here, this is what I get to call ethanoic acid. I'm going to explain this at a level that you are going to understand. I know some of you may not understand this, but where we are going, you are going to understand. This is something that is so easy to get. So those of you that are interested now in starting your tuition, since this was public to everyone, you can text me on WhatsApp. If you want tuitions, please get me clearly. Some people like texting me, sir, are these things for free? I didn't know that I need to pay. I'm already saying that for tuitions, and for me to say tuitions, it means it's not something that is done for free. I help you at an affordable fee. We are just helping each other, and you are helping me improve the academy. This is Arisonite Learning Academy. Let us grow bigger and make sure you share this particular video to as many people as you can. So this is where we are going to end from. I guess this has helped you understand. So I'm a tutor for mathematics, science, biology, civic education, as well as religious education 2046. Alongside, I've got a wonderful tutor for English. So we are working hand in hand with the tutor for English to help you get that distinction that you want. So if you want to join Harrisonite Academy, this is the WhatsApp number you need to contact. Let me help you get that distinction that you want to get in your exams. Thank you so much.